deep face-to-face conversation skills. Remember when people could talk for hours, diving deep into ideas without checking their phones? This lost art of conversation was more than just talking. It was a dance of minds, emotions, and human connection. In the past, conversations had a natural rhythm. People would lean in, make eye contact, and read subtle facial expressions that told as much as the words themselves. These face-to-face talks built empathy, understanding, and real human bonds. You couldn't just ghost someone mid-conversation or hide behind a screen. What made these conversations special was their unpredictability. One topic would flow naturally into another, like a river finding its path. People shared vulnerable moments, debated ideas, and built trust through physical presence. The slight pause before someone speaks, the shared laughter, the comfortable silences, these elements created authentic human moments. Today, we often settle for shallow exchanges, quick texts, and emoji reactions. We've lost the ability to navigate disagreements in real time, to read body language, and to truly understand someone's perspective through direct interaction. The skill of holding space for another person's thoughts and emotions has become rare. This loss affects everything from job interviews to romantic relationships. The ability to maintain eye contact, show genuine interest, and engage in meaningful dialogue is becoming a superpower in our digital age. The good news: this skill can be relearned through practice and conscious effort. Extended attention span. Think of your attention span like a muscle. Our ancestors had Olympic-level focus, while many of us today struggle to read a few paragraphs without reaching for our phones. This change has happened so gradually that we barely noticed it. Before the digital age, people could focus on single tasks for hours. Whether reading a book, crafting something, or solving a problem, they entered a state of deep concentration that's becoming rare today. This wasn't just about having fewer distractions, it was about having a trained ability to maintain focus. The human brain hasn't changed, but our environment has. We've created a world of constant interruptions, notifications, and instant gratification. Each distraction is like a small cut to our concentration, and over time, these cuts have weakened our ability to focus deeply. This matters because real achievement, learning, and creativity require sustained attention. Great ideas don't usually come in the first 5 minutes. They emerge when we stick with a problem, letting our minds explore deeper connections and possibilities. Research shows that social media and constant digital switching are rewiring our brains for distraction. But like any skill, deep focus can be rebuilt through practice, though it requires fighting against the instant gratification culture we've created.
Click subscribe to this channel to get more topics you love.
Natural navigation abilities. Before GPS and smartphones, humans were natural navigators. We had an innate ability to read the landscape, remember routes, and understand our place in the world through observation and memory. Our ancestors could navigate using stars, sun positions, wind patterns, and natural landmarks. This wasn't just about getting from A to B, it was about understanding our environment deeply. People developed mental maps that included not just locations, but seasonal changes, animal movements, and natural resources. This skill involved multiple senses and abilities. People noticed subtle changes in vegetation, remembered the shapes of hills and trees, and understood how landscapes changed with weather and seasons. This deep environmental awareness kept them safe and helped them thrive. Today we follow blue lines on screens, often completely disconnected from our surroundings. We've traded rich environmental awareness for convenience, but lost something precious: our natural ability to understand and connect with our environment. The loss of natural navigation affects more than just getting around. It impacts our spatial awareness, memory, and even our sense of place in the world. When we navigate naturally, we engage with our environment in a way that builds confidence and independence. Handwriting proficiency. Before keyboards and touchscreens dominated our lives, handwriting was more than just putting words on paper. It was a form of personal expression, a tool for memory, and a skill that connected hand, eye, and brain in a unique dance. Scientists have discovered that handwriting activates areas of the brain that typing simply doesn't touch. When we write by hand, we engage motor skills, memory, and creativity simultaneously. Each letter we form requires precise movements, creating neural pathways that help us learn and remember better. Think about the personality reflected in someone's handwriting. The way they loop their letters, the pressure they apply, the spacing they choose, all these elements tell a story about the writer. This personal touch is completely lost in standardized digital fonts. Handwriting was a form of self-expression that revealed parts of our personality we might not even be aware of. In schools, students who take notes by hand typically understand and remember information better than those who type. Why? Because handwriting forces us to process and summarize information rather than merely transcribe it. The slower pace of writing by hand actually helps our brains form stronger memories and connections. Today, many people struggle to write legibly for more than a few minutes, and some children are growing up without learning cursive at all. We're losing not just a skill, but a fundamental human way of processing and expressing thoughts. Memory capacity. Remember when people could recall dozens of phone numbers, addresses, and important dates without checking their phones? Our natural memory capacity was like a well-trained muscle, regularly exercised and relied upon for daily life. Before digital storage became ubiquitous, people developed impressive memory techniques naturally. They created mental maps, used association tricks, and regularly exercised their recall abilities. This wasn't just about remembering facts, it was about building complex mental networks that connected information in meaningful ways. The human brain is designed to remember through association and emotion. When we outsource our memory to devices, we lose these natural connections. A phone number wasn't just digits, it was connected to a person's face, their voice, where they lived, and shared experiences. These rich mental networks helped build stronger memories. Research shows that relying on digital devices for memory tasks is changing how our brains work. We're becoming better at remembering where to find information rather than remembering the information itself. While this might seem efficient, it's like using a calculator for basic math, convenient, but weakening our natural abilities. This shift affects more than just memory, it impacts how we learn, solve problems, and even how we experience life. When memories are stored externally, we lose the emotional connections and personal associations that make them meaningful. Patience for slow processes. In our instant gratification world, we've lost the ability to wait, to appreciate slow development, and to find joy in gradual progress. This lost trait of patience was once a fundamental part of human nature. Our ancestors understood that many valuable things take time: growing food, building relationships, mastering skills. They knew the satisfaction of watching something develop slowly, whether it was bread rising, a garden growing, or a craft being perfected. This patience wasn't just about waiting, it was about understanding and appreciating natural rhythms. But patient people developed a different relationship with time. They didn't expect immediate results, which allowed them to undertake longer, more meaningful projects. They could see the value in processes that took weeks, months, or even years to complete. This long-term perspective led to deeper satisfaction and more sustainable achievements. Modern life has trained us to expect everything instantly: messages, entertainment, food, shopping. While this convenience has benefits, it's eroded our capacity to handle delay or embrace gradual progress. We're losing the ability to stay committed to long-term goals and appreciate the journey as much as the destination. This impatience affects everything from our relationships to our career development. We often abandon projects or relationships at the first sign of difficulty, missing out on the deep satisfaction that comes from long-term commitment and gradual growth. Emotional resilience. Before the age of instant comfort and digital escapes, humans developed remarkable emotional resilience: the ability to bounce back from setbacks, face challenges head-on, and process difficult emotions without seeking immediate relief. Our ancestors faced hardships regularly and had to develop internal mechanisms to cope. They couldn't simply scroll through social media to distract themselves or instantly seek validation online. This forced them to build emotional muscles, learning to sit with discomfort and work through problems methodically. What made this resilience special was its authenticity. People learned to distinguish between genuine emotional challenges and minor inconveniences. They developed natural coping mechanisms like community support, physical activity, and creative expression. These weren't quick fixes, but sustainable ways to build emotional strength. Today, we often avoid emotional discomfort at all costs. We have endless distractions at our fingertips, making it easier to suppress rather than process emotions. This avoidance weakens our emotional immune system, making us more vulnerable to stress, anxiety, and depression. The good news is that emotional resilience can be rebuilt. Like physical exercise, it requires regular practice, pushing through discomfort, and learning to trust our inner strength rather than seeking external solutions for every emotional bump. Silent contemplation. In the constant noise of modern life, we've lost the art of being alone with our thoughts. Silent contemplation was once a natural part of daily life, a time for processing experiences, developing self-awareness, and finding inner peace. Before endless entertainment options, people regularly experience periods of silence and solitude. Whether walking alone, working quietly, or simply sitting in reflection, these moments allowed the mind to wander, process, and create. This wasn't meditation in the formal sense, it was a natural state of mental rest and exploration. The power of silent contemplation lies in its simplicity. Without external input, the mind naturally sorts through experiences, connects ideas, and reaches deeper understanding. This process is crucial for creativity, problem-solving, and emotional processing. But it's like giving your brain time to defragment and organize itself. Modern life fills every moment with noise, music, podcasts, videos, notifications. We've become uncomfortable with silence, often feeling anxious when left alone with our thoughts. This constant external stimulation prevents us from developing deep self-awareness and processing our experiences fully. The loss of this skill affects our mental health, creativity, and ability to understand ourselves. When we never stop to contemplate, we lose touch with our inner compass and become more influenced by external voices. Manual craftsmanship. Before mass production and automated manufacturing, humans possessed an intimate understanding of how to make things by hand. This wasn't just about creating objects, it was about understanding materials, developing patience, and connecting with the physical world. Craftspeople developed a deep knowledge of their materials, how wood grain affects strength, how clay responds to different temperatures, how metals can be shaped and joined. This knowledge came from direct experience, trial and error, and careful observation. It was learning that engaged all the senses. The satisfaction of creating something with your own hands is unique. It builds confidence, teaches problem solving, and develops a respect for quality work. When you craft something manually, you understand its true value, not just its price, but the skill, time, and care invested in its creation. Today, few people know how to make or repair things by hand. We've become consumers rather than creators, often unable to fix even simple objects. This disconnect from manual creation affects our understanding of value, our problem-solving abilities, and our connection to the physical world. This loss of craftsmanship skills represents more than just practical abilities. It's a fundamental shift in how we interact with and understand the world around us. Community interdependence. Before the rise of individualism and digital connections, humans lived in deeply interconnected communities where mutual support wasn't just nice, it was necessary for survival. This wasn't simply about living close to others, it was about creating a web of reciprocal relationships and shared responsibilities. The communities functioned like living organisms, with each member playing vital roles. People didn't just know their neighbors, they relied on them. When someone built a barn, the whole community helped. When a family faced hardship, others stepped in without hesitation. This wasn't charity, it was a natural system of giving and receiving that strengthened the entire group. The beauty of this interdependence lay in its practical wisdom. People shared tools, knowledge, and resources naturally. They understood that individual success was tied to community well-being. Children were raised by the village, elders were cared for by everyone, and skills were passed down through generations. Today, we often pride ourselves on independence, but this has come at the cost of genuine connection and mutual support. Many people don't know their neighbors' names, let alone feel comfortable asking them for help. This isolation makes us more vulnerable, both practically and emotionally. This loss affects our mental health, our resilience during crises, and our sense of belonging. When we lose community interdependence, we lose a fundamental support system that humans evolved with. Storytelling traditions. Long before Netflix and social media, humans were masterful storytellers, passing down knowledge, values, and cultural identity through oral traditions. This wasn't just entertainment, it was education, preservation of history, and community building all rolled into one. Traditional storytelling was an interactive art. Stories changed slightly with each telling, adapting to the audience and circumstances. Storytellers read the room, adjusted their pace and emphasis, and created an immersive experience that engaged listeners' imaginations. This flexibility kept stories alive and relevant across generations. What made these traditions powerful was their multifaceted impact. Stories taught moral lessons while entertaining, preserved historical knowledge while building community bonds, and helped people understand complex ideas through accessible narratives. The human brain is wired to remember information better when it's presented in story form. Today's passive consumption of media doesn't engage our minds the same way. We've lost the art of crafting and sharing personal stories, of using narrative to make sense of our experiences and connect with others. The decline of storytelling traditions affects our cultural continuity and our ability to process and share life experiences meaningfully. This skill connected generations, preserved wisdom, and helped communities maintain their identity through changing times. Its loss represents more than just a change in entertainment. It's a fundamental shift in how we share and process human experience. Natural time awareness. Before digital clocks ruled our lives, humans had an intuitive understanding of time based on natural rhythms. They could tell time by the sun's position, predict weather changes through natural signs, and align their activities with natural cycles. This wasn't just about telling time, it was about being in tune with nature's patterns. People understood the subtle signs of seasonal changes, knew when to plant and harvest based on natural indicators, and could sense approaching weather shifts through changes in animal behavior or cloud patterns. The power of this awareness came from its connection to real-world rhythms rather than arbitrary numbers. People worked with natural light, rested when their bodies needed it, and understood time as a flowing experience rather than rigid segments. This natural awareness created a healthier relationship with time itself. Modern life has replaced these natural rhythms with artificial ones. We wake by alarm regardless of natural light, work despite our body's signals, and often lose touch with seasonal changes. This disconnection from natural time patterns affects our sleep, health, and overall well-being. The loss of natural time awareness represents a fundamental shift in how humans experience and interact with the world around them. It's not just about telling time, it's about our connection to natural rhythms and cycles.